This episode of the Fiction Writers Podcast is brought to you by How to Write a Novel That Sells. Do you dream of writing a best-selling fiction novel? With the right tools, you could get there sooner than you think. Visit www.howtowriteanovelthatsells.com and unlock the secrets to writing compelling fiction taught by international best-selling author Lana McAra. Welcome to the Fiction Writers Podcast with Lana McAra, where you will discover tips, tricks, and ideas for fiction that is #unputdownable. Here you'll find new energy, new perspectives, new resources, and new ideas that will spark your creativity into a blaze of brilliance. It's easier than you think. Be sure you visit our website at www.fictionwriterspodcast.com. While you're there, subscribe to us via your favorite network. Now, get out your notebook, tune in, and let's get started.
If you're like me, you've gone to lots of book fairs and had lots of book tables, and you always wonder, could I do better? I think I could do better, but how? And that's what we're going to be talking about today. My name is Lana McAra, and welcome to the Fiction Writers Podcast. Tips, tricks, and ideas for fiction that is #unputdownable. Today, our guest is Leigh Lincoln. Leigh Lincoln writes. Her writing connects with her commitment as an advocate for the homeless and people living in poverty. For more than 3 decades, she has dedicated herself to making a difference in the lives of those in need. Her first novel, Road Home, challenges readers to consider how they live and how they treat others. Her Broken Road series shows that life takes unexpected twists and turns, and we must keep moving forward no matter what happens. Leigh's most recent novel, in the Path to Family series, is about adoption, where she shares her own adoption experience. Leigh encourages others to find their voice too, never shy away from meaningful conversations, and to give back to the community. She also gives a portion of the proceeds of her novels directly to charities that serve the homeless and impoverished communities. Her stories invite us all to reflect on our own journey, the choices we make, and the profound impact empathy and compassion can have in our world. Welcome, Leigh.
Great to be here today. Thanks for having me.
I was just fascinated by you when I met you at the Sunshine State Book Festival in Gainesville, Florida, where I was just cruising around. I didn't have a table, but you had a table next to a dear friend of mine, Mary Buchanan. And as I was there to see Mary and support her, she was telling me, and her opening words were this, and I'm going to share that with our listeners. This woman sells 100 books when she has a table. And our mouths dropped open like, how do you do that? And so that's what we're going to talk about today. So we'll get into it. So
there's a caveat, not at book fairs.
There you go. There you go. Not at book fairs. So what events do you focus on, and why do you focus on events?
Well, here's the theme. There's a big myth out there that everyone has dropped print books like hot potatoes, and everyone reads on their Kindles or their phones or their tablets. But that's wrong. 3 out of 4 books sold is print. Hello, that's a huge market, huge market, right? That most people don't focus on at all. So I like to call myself the events, fairs, markets, oh my lady, because anywhere someone will let me set up a table, I'm probably there. And no, that is not book fairs. I occasionally will do a book fair, but I look at it more as a networking event rather than I'm going to sell a book event, because they don't bring in readers. And the few readers they do bring in tend to be on deer in the headlights overload mode, like I call, because there's just so much competition that readers are just like, I don't know what to buy. And I end up buying nothing because there are too many books to choose from. And so, no, I will do 1 or 2 book fairs a year, but really that is not where to sell a book. And if you think you're going to, well, you might sell 10 to 20 on a good day, but that is not where to sell a book. And if you think it is, you're probably wrong.
Well, I think our results speak for themselves. We just don't sell books there. We might sell two. We might sell nothing. But I love your idea that it's a networking event. That's where we met. Now you're here on my podcast.
Yep.
Right. Right.
Right. So I approach this very differently than most other authors. Over the years, and I've been doing this a lot of years, I've been going to various events since 2017. I have figured out who my ideal reader is, what they like, what they don't like, and where they hang out. And this is where I hang out now. So this means that you have to know what they eat, what they wear, where they shop. You have to know every little detail about your reader. And some people are like, wait, that is like creepy stalkerish. And I'm like, okay, on some levels, it may kind of seem like that. But on other levels, the more you know about your reader, the better. Do they like coffee? Do they like tea? Do they like meat? Are they vegans? Do they like hanging out at the yoga studio? Are they more like the super cardio intense fitness people, right? The more you know, the better. Do they live in a city? Do they live in the country? The more you know, the better. Now, there's a lot of reasons for this because everyone's like, oh, my book is for everyone. Your book is not for everyone, right? No. That is a fallacy, right? I know we want to think our book is for everyone. We want everyone to read our book because we love our book, right? But that's wrong. And that is a wrong way to approach marketing. And I'll give you a good example of this. Early days, 2017, before I totally understood this whole concept, I once tried to sell my beautiful, inspirational novel Road Home to a bunch of drunk Irish people. There's nothing wrong with drunk Irish people. I'm not saying that. I was at an Irish festival and these people were not my ideal readers. They were not going to buy my book no matter what I did. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with the festival. What was wrong was I was trying to sell to everyone. Everyone is not going to buy my book. And this is where you really need to understand and niche down what your market is, what your book is, who you are, because you're probably going to do like to like. What you like is probably what your readers are going to like because you write what you know, whether you realize it or not. And so over the years, I've kind of figured out, well, my books do really, really well for the small town, church loving people, especially middle-aged to older women. Okay, that's good. But that kind of describes me to a T because I am from a very rural area in the West, right? So this is where I go to. I go to a lot of church markets. I go to a lot of holiday markets. I go to a lot of farmers markets. I go to a lot of craft shows. This is how I can sell 100 books at an event, easy peasy, because I have figured out who my reader is, where they are, what they like. Done and done. I can do this over and over and over again, weekend after weekend after weekend. No stress, no muss, no fuss. But this is not something I did overnight. This is not an easy process trying to figure out exactly who your reader is. But there are a lot of benefits to figuring this out. A ton of benefits. Because if you get your ideal reader to read your book, typically they will refer your book to 10 friends on average. One of those 10 friends will fall in love with your book. What will that friend do? Refer it to 10 friends. Did you sell that book to all of those 20 people? No, you've only sold it to one, right? So it's multiplication.
That is so interesting. And just like everything that you say, Leigh, it's packed with stuff. So let's unpack that just a little bit. So when you say, does your ideal reader like coffee or tea, that will help you know if you should see if a coffee shop will let you put a table there. Is that right?
Exactly. Because there are so many places you can show up in, or you can just plop your books down at. It's amazing. And you just have to be creative and think outside of the box. For example, I am going to go to a coffee shop, and I do this all the time. I go to coffee shops. I will sit at a table. You have to let them know you're doing this ahead of time. You can't just show up, right? Just connect with a coffee shop. There are millions of coffee shops on this planet. Now, the bigger chain stores usually will not let you do this, but the small town ones will always let you do this if you let them know ahead of time. Plop down. I can sell 25 to 50 copies of a book in a couple of hours at most coffee shops. Easy peasy, simple, done and done, right? Because I know that's where my readers are. However, if your readers hate coffee, then that's not a place for you to go. But if your readers are health nuts and they love like those juice smoothies, then find a smoothie bar, right? There are plenty of those out there on the planet too, right? This is where you need to know these super niche little facts. If your readers hang out at a gym, I've actually talked to authors who've like listened to me and like they've understood I'm not just some crazy person. And they're like, oh, and they've connected with small local gyms. They've set up a table and they've talked to people as they come into the gym, and they've sold a ton of books, like easy peasy in a couple of hours, right? Because that was where their market was. But you've got to know this. You have to know this. I can go to a grocery store on a busy Saturday, not because I want to shop when it's busy, because I hate shopping when it's busy, but I can talk to the cashier who's stressed out and just tell her some fun little fact about whatever I'm writing right now, hand her a business card, and the 40 other people in line behind me have just heard me mention my book. And because I always have books in my car, then I have all these little ducks following me out to my car, and I can sell 20 books just on a Saturday morning from the back of my car. Now, again, this works because of what my type of reader are. That may not work for everyone, but these are the things you need to think about. And this is when you need to know who your readers are. Now, some grocery stores for me won't work. There are some grocery stores that will. You have to know, again, where your readers shop, where they don't. There is so, yeah, it's a crazy little world out there. But this is, I use the pizza analogy. Not everybody likes pizza. Not everybody reads. We're all good. But within those people who love pizza, do they all like pepperoni? No. Do they all like vegetarian? No. Do they all like Canadian bacon on their pizza? No. Do they all like Hawaiian? No. You have to figure out where each little person is and where they are on that little grouping, and figure out exactly who they are and what they like.
So what was the process you used to get so focused in? How did you narrow that down?
Well, for me, because no one was helping me with this process, it was hit and miss. Okay, I did a lot of really bad events those first couple of years, wasted a lot of time. Now, I can figure out really quickly for a lot of people how to help them narrow this down. And there's this beautiful thing now called Chat GPT or Bing, whatever their thing on Bing is, or Bard. They can really help you narrow this down. You can figure out a lot of events and things and look at what the events are and figure out, what type of people show up there. Technology is a beautiful thing. I'm just saying. You can actually figure out also comparatives to your books and what some of the demographics for those are. If you know how to put in prompts with Chat GPT, it's amazing, the technology out there now. And I wish somebody really would have helped me understand this to begin with, because then I wouldn't have wasted so much time. But again, a lot of it, even now, you're still going to have to do some trial and error and like go to a few events and test it out. You know, like sit down and look at people, ask your readers, and you can also go to Google. If you have a website, Google and TikTok especially will give you some demographic of who's following you. And that's also really helpful information. And again, technology can either be your enemy or your friend, and you need to learn to use it wisely. And I'm not great at this, but I'm getting better. And I know part of that is an age thing, because I am old enough to be pre-computer person, and I understand that. And so, yeah, but there are a lot of tools out there to help you really figure out who your audience already is, and then leverage that to figure out where you need to go.
Yes, getting into the right area, that's hugely important. I was in sales and I sold hot tubs on a showroom floor for a while. And I can see so many correlations between the training we got, the sales training we got, with what you're saying. So let's talk a little bit about the sales conversations, because marketing is finding out where to go. Sales is the talking part, which I think most of us, we're shy. Standing at the register in the grocery store, that's a kind of feeling that comes up. So how do you frame the conversation when you start talking to someone?
Here's the thing. You can't be pushy, and you never start by saying, I have this book. That turns people off in a heartbeat. Like, I've literally seen people turn away and just walk as quickly as they can the other direction. So when I'm at an event, I will always start the conversation with, hi, how are you doing today? Or are you enjoying the event? Or, it's a little cloudy today. It's a little cold. Are you doing okay? I'll start it about them, turn the conversation about them. And then I will slowly ease them into, do you like books? If I'm at a non-book event, which 9 times out of 10 I am, what do you like to read? What was the last book you read? That's always a great question, right? Because then if I can get them to connect with me on a level that we're having this great conversation, then a lot of times I can be like, oh, that sounds like something in my book, blah, blah, and then mention something about my book. And then they'll start asking me questions about my books. And that is good, because then I'm not being pushy. I'm not being salesy. We're having a conversation and it's fun. Cool. Now, the other thing I do is not have a conversation at all, because a lot of times people are at events, even when it's totally not a book event, there are 100 to 500 vendors. I do some big events sometimes, and people are like, oh my goodness, I don't know where to look. So I have this giant, it's taller than me. It's a giant sign. All it has on there is my name, a few books, and it's monotone. It's brown, so it's really monotone. It's just got my name, like silhouettes of books, and a QR code that goes to my website. You wouldn't believe how many people scan that QR code because they're curious. Well, what is this lady? And they don't even look at me. They just scan the QR code with their phone as they're walking by, because it's giant. You can scan that thing from 6 feet away. And then they'll come back later and go, I checked out your website 2 hours ago and your books look interesting. I want blah, blah books. They don't want to have a conversation. They just want to buy the books. Cool. I did my job without doing my job. That is awesome. And again, it's about not being salesy. It's about not being pushy. It's about leaving the decision up to them. And I totally did that without having a conversation at all, because I had that giant QR code that can be scanned from 6 feet away.
That is such a great point. Is that one of those pull-up signs?
Yeah, well, it's double-sided, so you have to slide it down over these frame bars, but because it's cloth. But yeah, you can do a one-sided pull-up pop-up sign. I don't care what it is. but that's important. Keep it simple. The KISS, keep it simple, stupid, right? It doesn't have to be anything elaborate, expensive, or fancy. It just needs to just be your name, something that makes it clear that you have books. Like I say, none of the books on there are mine. It's just silhouettes of books so that they can see I'm an author, right? And a QR code. It's super simple. It's super easy. And it's nothing to where it would be distracting, or like all it does is, okay, exactly what kind of books does this lady do? Because again, none of my books are on this sign. It's just a sign.
Right.
It piques curiosity. And that is the point.
Right. And there are people who want to look first. They don't want to talk first.
Exactly.
Yeah. I have a pull-up sign, but according to what you're telling me, it's way too full of stuff, too busy. But people would scan that QR code that I have in the center, but it's not that big. So I'm just about to go order a brand new sign, Leigh.
And it works. And I'm not saying, I'm not saying this because I haven't had this experience. I've had enough people over the years that have walked back up to my booth and like, no, don't talk to me. This is what I want. This is what I want. That I know this works, and it works well, because some people just don't want to have a conversation. They just don't at all. Flat out. And that's fine. You have to meet them where they are.
Yes. Make it easy. Make it easy on them to say yes.
Exactly.
Right.
And here's the other thing that the few times I see authors at events, they're all sitting behind their table with their arms crossed in front of them. And most of them have a sour look on their face. Now, I'm not going to point anyone out. I'm not going to name names, but I've seen enough. And I don't see very many authors out there. That's my number one problem, is I see very few authors out in the universe. And the few I do are doing everything wrong. Never sit behind your table. You are not there to sit. You are there to stand in front of your table. You are there to look pretty and happy, or handsome if you're a man. You are there to look happy. You are there to look excited. You are there to talk to everyone that walks in front of your table, especially if they look like you're a target reader, right? Because you should know them well enough that you can point them out in a crowd. You should be talking to those people. You should be saying hi. And if that's all you say, then that's fine, right? You should, at the very least, be saying hi to almost everyone who walks by your table in a day. This is about having fun and connecting. And you'd be amazed how many people will buy a book, whether it's in a genre they like or not, just because you've had a connection. Because here's the thing, and this didn't come from me either. That the 3 out of 4 didn't come from me. Print books, that didn't come from me either. This also doesn't come from me. Readsy, who is a well-named company, right? They did a survey last year, 2023, about what readers want. And you know what readers want? It has nothing to do with genre, right? It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with, they want quality, they want connection, and they want what's real. Now, I'm not saying that has anything to do with genre, but they want to know that they are connected to authors. They want to know that authors are real and genuine and human beings, because we have become so disconnected in the last few years that they just are overwhelmed with all of this online stuff. Well, everyone is, not just readers, but readers in particular. This is what they said in the survey. And they want quality. They are tired of fluff books. They are tired of stuff that barely touches the surface. So this is why what I do works, because I am out there and I'm just easy breezy and having fun. And this is why it works. And this is why it works well. And people tell me all the time, I get emails from people that, you know what? I bought your book at blah, blah event, and this is not a genre I have ever read before. I've never read inspirational fiction. I have never wanted to, but I bought the book because of you. And I'm so glad I did. I love your book. I love you. And this is what works, is those connections. I'm out there. I'm being real. I'm being honest. I'm slightly odd. I'm slightly weird. I know I'm a unicorn. I'm okay with that. I own it. I'm loud. I'm proud. I'm cool. Right? Not anybody else. And no one should try to be anyone else. And that's good. This is what people want. They want those connections.
Yes, yes. And the books back it up because you're putting your commitment, your dedication, you're putting your passion and your heart into the book. So not only are you putting the book in people's hands, but when they read it, they feel you inside the book. And I think that connection between you and the book, that connection between you and the reader, all of it makes a beautiful package that is going to bring a lot of people into the fold. And that's what we want. We want those people who follow us. And when the book comes out, they're immediately going to get it because they can't wait to read the next one. So I had a question that just kind of flittered through my mind. I know. Do you collect email addresses?
I do. That is one of my big things. When I'm at events, I have a bucket where you can sign up to win something. And depending on where I am in the life cycle of my books, depends on what you win. But the only way to win it is for you to put your email in there. And I collect hundreds of emails at a given weekend because people are excited about a giveaway. And yes, most of those people will unsubscribe as soon as they get that first newsletter because they're like, wait, what? Who is this lady? I don't remember who this lady is, right? Because if they haven't bought a book, then they're probably like, oh yeah, I don't want this, right? But that's okay. The point is to collect as many emails as possible because then those people, a lot of them do stay, and then they get to know me even better, and then they do eventually purchase a book or 5 off of my website. And then they, when I have pre-sales, I do them all off of my website. And then all of these people know about it. And then I sell hundreds of books with a pre-sale because I do it all myself. And this is super important to be able to connect with these people because I probably will never see them again. Although some of them do stalk me and show up at my next event if it's an hour or 2 from where they live. I do have a few people that show up and they're like, yeah, I met you at blah, blah. And now I'm here and it's an hour from where I live. And that's okay because I wanted to come see you again.
So you do send out a
newsletter. Okay, we're all good.
Yes. How often do you send out your newsletter?
I send it out about once a month because I am super busy and I'm almost never home. And now with this whole newsletter fiasco that I and other authors are facing with the whole you have to fix it or Google will spam you.
Yeah.
I actually had to hire a professional. Don't ask. And I apparently am not alone in this.
Yes. Yes. I'm getting ready to hire someone as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So my newsletter for the month of February may or may not go out because it was supposed to go out yesterday and it did not go out because Google spammed me and I had to resend it.
Yeah.
Hi, never mind. It's author issues.
Yes. Yes. We go through this once in a while, like when they change the algorithm on Amazon or they change the algorithm on social media and then we all have to scramble and catch up. Yeah.
Yes. So, hi. So I try once a month and sometimes it doesn't work. And I also do that a little differently, I think, than a lot of authors because it's chit-chatty. It's whatever craziness is going on with my life. And so like the one I'm trying to send for February is about football, not American football. I'm talking La Liga. So, okay.
Oh.
So yeah, I try to be real and connect with people and be kind of crazy and out there because that's me. That's my life. My life is weird. My life.
So you make your newsletter about things that are not about books. You make it about interest points for the reader that you also share. Is that correct?
I try to do that. Yes, I try to find something I can connect with them on, because again, it every time I can make a connection with the reader, that is a good thing as far as I'm concerned. When it's really close to a book release, I will mention that in my newsletter. But other than that, I will throw in a few links to some newsletter swaps that I'm doing. But it's a brief mention way at the bottom. Usually I'm trying to be chit-chatty and share something about my life. Because again, I'm all about the connections. I am into connections, whether it's with other authors. Like I say, that Sunshine Book Fair was about networking. It wasn't about selling books. Yes, I had books to sell. Did I sell very many? No, but that's okay because that wasn't what I was looking for that weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And I also look for networking at other events that I'm doing. When I'm at a craft fair, I look for small shops that could potentially put my books in their shops. I'm all about connections, not just with readers, but with other authors, with other shops. I'm all about the connections. But my life is trying to make connections. So, yeah, half my life is writing a book and half my life is trying to make connections.
I think I can really relate to that. I was there. I was collected a purse full of cards and bookmarkers and flyers from just about everybody that I came to. There were 200 tables that day. Took a while to get through them all, but yeah, absolutely. So let's do a little game here. We have a little bit of time, maybe another 10, 15 minutes. Let's do a little role playing. So let's pretend that I am someone who's coming up to your table like I did, at that event, but I'm not me. I'm someone who likes to read, and I am a middle-aged church lady who likes to read inspirational fiction, which is what I started out writing, by the way. My first 15 books or so were inspirational fiction. So yeah, I know about that. So let's say I just come up and I'm standing there looking at your table. What would you say?
So I would say, how are you enjoying this event?
Wow, there's a lot here. So many different things.
What has been your favorite booth that you've seen so far?
I always go for the jewelry. I love earrings. And so I'm always looking for earrings.
Earrings. Well, when I was in Spain, I went to this rastro, which is another name for market. And there was this old lady, and she was actually hand making the earrings and the necklaces and the bracelets and things right there at her table. And you could tell her exactly what you wanted. And it took about 10, 15 minutes. Now, here in America, I'm fairly sure nobody would wait that long just to get a piece of jewelry. But it was so fun because she did exactly what I wanted for these earrings. And it was just so, so cool. And I talk a lot about Spain in my books. Have you ever been there?
Spain? No, I've never been across the ocean.
Wow. Yeah, because I travel a lot to do research for my books. Would you be interested in learning more about my books that are on Spain?
Oh, that would be kind of cool.
So do you like love stories? Or
yeah, they're my favorite, actually.
well, do you know the difference between love stories and romance? Because some don't.
No, I don't.
Okay. Well, a love story is Nicholas Sparks, right? Deep, dark. You're going to be crying at least halfway through the book to the end. You're going to be sobbing. That's a love story, right? As where romance is, they tie it up in a pretty neat little bow. They have this beautiful, happy ending, and everyone's happy. And yeah, that's a romance. So I wrote a love story, and I didn't mean to write a love story. I had no idea what I'm doing. That's how I roll with books, though. I just kind of spit out. And so I wrote this love story, and it's set in Cuba and Spain and Miami. And it's about this immigrant, and he's now moved to the United States, and he finds out he's dying. And he doesn't want to die alone, so he convinces his woman to marry him. And then he takes her to Cuba and Spain, where he's lived before. So you see all these beautiful countries that he's lived before, and you hear his story and all about all these beautiful places he's lived and his rather tragic life and why he immigrated. but you also hear her story and why she's willing to marry a man she barely knows. And so you have this epic grand romance at the end of his life as he dies beautifully. And so it is a tragic love story like Nicholas Sparks.
Wow, that sounds really interesting.
And it's called Road to Freedom.
Okay, very good. Wow, I don't know how anybody could resist that. That thing. And it took what, 4 minutes, 3 minutes?
Yeah, like I say, you have a conversation, you pull them in, and you get them talking. And again, you don't start out with the book.
Right. Wow, this is so...
And you saw how I tied that in. You talked about jewelry. I talked about jewelry and connected it with the book.
Yes, it connected to Spain, then connected Spain to the book. So that's the way conversations normally happen. We just get one breadcrumb to another.
Right.
It feels really natural. Yeah.
Yeah. And I have gotten super good at this over the years. And, if whatever, and I read enough to where 9 times out of 10, if they've mentioned a book that they've read recently, I have also read that book. But again, I'm an avid reader. So, I'm really good at playing this game, right? And I've gotten better over the years. And this comes with practice. But if you don't talk to people, you cannot practice the art of conversation.
Right.
And it's a dying art in America. Now, I go to Spain, I go to Italy, I go to Greece. These people will draw you into a 2-hour conversation over nothing in a heartbeat. You are their new best friend. They know the art of conversation. They're really good at it. We in America, we have lost it. We have totally lost it.
We're all in a hurry to get somewhere else.
Exactly.
And sit down and do nothing. That's the irony of it. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll plop in front of our TVs alone in our homes. And but we will not have a conversation. And but yet again, this is what people want. They want the connections. They want what's real. And they want what's quality over quantity. So this is where I excel. And anyone can do this, but it takes some practice.
Practice, yes. And so as we're winding up, I want to just bring around a couple of points that you made to emphasize them, because you've done it so beautifully, Leigh. Thank you for joining us today. This has been amazing. I promise you, I will be listening to this 3, 4, 5 times myself afterwards. So one of them is your dedication. You get yourself out there. You're not sitting at home wishing for book sales. You are actually putting yourself on the line, connecting with shop owners, finding out events, getting out there and talking with people. It takes energy to do that. It takes putting yourself in the public realm to do that. Then the second thing is practicing, talking to people, seeing what works, paying attention. And I think that's really what sets you apart, is you pay attention to a lot of different things. And then also educating yourself on a constant basis. What's working now? What's not working now? The QR code thing on the sign is absolutely brilliant. One of the things that I found is, I talk to people about book marketing a lot, is the more simple you can make it, the more success you will have. Even the name of your business, even the name of your book, even all the different facets of communication, the simplicity of it is what is key. And we want to put in too many words, and we want to do too much and too many pictures and all that stuff. And it leaves people feeling, overwhelmed and so forth. If you have Leigh Lincoln, a couple of book silhouettes, not even your book, and a big QR code, there's one message. This lady has books. Scan this. That's it. Yeah, that's what you want. Is there anything I missed that you might think of that would be important to mention before we go?
A lot of authors I've discovered do not have their own website. It's essential. You have to have that website. You have to have your newsletter. You cannot rely on Amazon, social media, or anything. You have to control your universe. And a lot of authors forget that piece, or they think it's too expensive. And there's lots of ways to do it inexpensively. And it's absolutely essential. You have to control your universe. And if you don't want to sell a ton of books out of your own house, at least have a small inventory of a couple hundred in your home. And I understand a lot of people have cramped spaces, but still, readers like that personal touch. They really like those autographed books. It works. And it's really, really essential, especially nowadays. And it's not that expensive to send a book via mail in the United States. And I know a lot of people are like, I just don't want to run a business, but you are running a business if you're an author. And you just need to get over those qualms.
Yes, absolutely. It is a business. If you want to be successful, you have to see it as a business. That's something I say all the time. We want to write. We don't want to sell, but yeah, we want to sell books. You can't have it both ways, can you?
Exactly. It's a business just like any other. You have to view it that way. And you have to have all the bells and whistles. You have to have the website. You do have to have social media, but your social media should be driving to your website. And you have to be out there. And if you don't have to go crazy like me. If you just do one event a month, there are 50 gazillion just in Georgia and Florida over the next 2 months. Like literally, pick a day, go somewhere, right? It is a business. The only way to be successful at this is to look at it that way. You can't rely on anyone else to do your marketing, to do your sales. You have got to do this. And I was talking to someone the other day, and she's like, I want to write another book, but the first one didn't sell at all. And I was asking her, well, what did you do? What did you do? What did you do? And she's like, well, I put a couple of posts up on social media and it's on Amazon. And I'm like, is that all you did? Do you have a website? No. Did you do any book signings? Well, I did one at my mother's nursing home. And I'm like looking at her going, literally, that's all she did. Like, I'm like, and you expected this to do what? Right? Exactly. Because she wasn't thinking like this is a business. And I understand for authors, they're like, most of them don't understand anything about any of this. I didn't. But there are so many ways you can learn how to do this. Or you can just send me an email. I'll tell you 50 ways. I can coach you.
Yes. LeighLincolnAuthor.com. Go there. Leigh, as I was walking around, I was collecting all those cards, and I had a stack probably 2 inches thick of cards and bookmarks and things. You know that there were only a few people who had their email address on their card. I was shocked. These cards had the cover of the book, beautifully done. They spent money on it. There's no website. There's no email address. There was no way to find this person. And then I went online because you and I have a little in common. I kind of got this drive. And so I'd go online, try and find their website. There wasn't a website. There was not a website. No website either. So how is someone who's as motivated as me? Not very many people to spend that much time. And I couldn't even find something. So somebody that is not motivated, they're just going to pass on to somebody who does have an email address on their card or a website address or something.
Right, because so many books, you can literally type in the entire name of the book and the author into Amazon and still not find the book. Hello. No, this is why I drive people to my website. No, just go to my website.
Yes.
Go to my website. Because if you've got Amazon, doesn't love you.
Yes.
I'm sorry. And Amazon probably hates me for saying this, but it's true. You never will.
Yeah. Yeah. Leigh, thank you. I hope our paths cross again at some event and I can come and talk with you again. This is amazing. I wish you all success in what you're doing. You're using your passion to do good in the world and help people. And I absolutely love that. So thank you for being with us today.
Oh, this was fun. If it isn't fun, it's not worth doing.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And to everyone listening, thank you so much for being with us today. My name is Lana McAra. See you next time.
Thank you for tuning into the Fiction Writers Podcast with Lana McAra, where we share tips, tricks, and ideas for fiction that is #unputdownable. Remember to visit our website at www.fictionwriterspodcast.com and enjoy even more great episodes like this one. Again, while you're here, subscribe to us via your favorite network. We look forward to seeing you next time on the Fiction Writers Podcast.